this special show is dedicated to an entire evening of historical moments that you may or may not know. See, my commitment is to give to you, my listeners, a look at the rich history of African Americans and our importance to American history. So here we go. This is the story for tonight's show, the BCS Experience. And I want to hear from you. I've got a caller on the line. Let's bring them right on in. Good evening, extension 240. How are you this evening? And welcome to the BCS Experience. Who are you?
How are you this evening?
Oh, this is the president of my fan club. This is Linda. How are you, Linda? I'm great. And yourself?
I am great. It's good to hear you this evening.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Now, did you know that information about Crispus Attucks?
I just got on. I didn't hear what you were
Oh,
saying.
you didn't hear what I was saying. Okay, that's okay. What basically most of us who read are given history about the American Revolution, you see, they'll talk to us about George Washington. They'll talk to us about the Tea Party, the infamous tea, dumping of the tea in the Boston Harbor. You may remember that. But whatever they told you about Crispus Attucks is that the fact is he was, and to this date, identified as the first man to die for America's freedom. And here we are, 2013, still fighting for our freedom, and yet it was an African slave, free man, ultimately, who was the first killed in the American Revolution. Isn't that ironic? Isn't that ironic? Okay? We go all through all the slavery. We go through all of the civil rights movement. We go through from his birth, which is identified somewhere in the year of 1723, November the 17th, and his being identified as the first man to die for America's freedom. Makes you say, Okay, Linda, I got another one for you. Here's one. I don't know if you know about this one. The birth of Roger Brooke Taney. Now, this may not ring a bell for most people, but we've all heard of stop and frisk, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, now, most recently, stop and frisk in New York has been outrageous. So, the police being able to stop and frisk you, asking you for your papers, just because you might look like you might be a perpetrator of some kind of crime. Doesn't say that you committed a crime, but mostly black and Hispanic men and some women have been stopped and asked for their papers, their license, frisked, go through their personal belongings just to make sure they have no drugs, have no weapons, any of it. Okay. We all know about 12 Years a Slave, where Solomon, the free man, was taken off the streets of Washington, D.C. In fact, Solomon was a New Yorker, and his being taken off the streets by somewhat of bounty hunters in another racial profiling of stop and frisk. Okay, now let's go back to the books, because, see, most people have this concept that stop and frisk just got started. Well, let's go back to the history. The year. It's 1777. It's a Friday. Okay, it's a Friday, right? And it's November the 14th. And on this day, this individual, Roger Brooke Taney, in 1777 was his birthday, is recalled on this date. He was a white American lawyer and judge who supported slavery. He was born in Calvert County, Maryland. Taney, oh, that's okay, it's pronounced Tony, came from a wealthy slave-owning family of tobacco farmers. He studied law in Annapolis and was in the same class with Francis Scott Key, the guy who wrote the our wonderful song, that we sing at most of
Star
our
Spangled Banner.
Yes, the Star Spangled Banner, the one that everybody seems to know or don't know or can't sing or can sing. Anyway, he was in. That's right. He was in the same class with Francis Scott Key. He joined the House of Maryland Assembly in 1799 and became a prominent attorney in that state by 1825. Tony also became the Attorney General of Maryland, which is where you live currently, for 2 years later. President Andrew Jackson appointed Tony Secretary of the Treasury in 1831, and in 1836 he was appointed the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court. Now here's where it gets to be that construct of stop and frisk. He presided over abolitionist Thomas Garrett's trial in 1848 and the Dred Scott case in 1857. Tony felt that the police power of a state entitled it to make reasonable regulatory laws even if they appeared to override provisions of the United States Constitution. He held that although Congress alone had the power to regulate interstate commerce, a state might exclude a corporation organized elsewhere in sustaining fugitive slave laws. Okay. However, Tony denied to free states the power of refusing obedience to federal statutes requiring the surrender of escaped slaves. His position on the slavery laws was most clearly expressed in the Dred Scott case of 1857. Here he held that slaves, and even the free descendants of slaves, were not citizens and may not sue the federal courts. He also believed that Congress could not forbid slavery in the territories of the United States. He died in 1864. Wow. There you have it. The origin of stop and frisk. I bet you didn't know that one. See? Listen, we got to take a break because I got more stories for you. You see, history is going to allow us to know how all of this got started. You're listening to the BCS Experience on the GoPro Radio Network. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
The views and opinions expressed on GoPro Radio Network shows are solely those of the speakers and are not necessarily the views or opinions of GoPro Radio Networks, Inc. or its affiliates. These broadcasts are provided on the understanding that they do not constitute professional advice or services. Individuals who speak in these broadcasts express their own opinions, experiences, and conclusions. GoPro Radio Networks and its affiliates do not necessarily endorse or oppose any particular opinion or conclusion discussed in these broadcasts. You may not edit, modify, or redistribute these broadcasts in any way without the express permission of GoPro Radio Networks, Inc. GoPro Radio Networks assumes no liability for any of your activities in connection with these broadcasts or for your use of these broadcasts in connection with your website, computer, or playing device.
All right, we're back. I'm Byron C. Saunders, your host with the most on the BCS Experience. We're on the GoPro Radio Network, and I'm giving you history this evening. Okay, Linda, my good friend in Maryland. How about that? I'm willing to bet you $10 to $100 that you didn't know the stop and frisk laws got started in your state. Okay, back in.
No, I did not.
Okay, back in 1825 or 1857, as a result of the Dred Scott case. Now, see, they'll teach us that in the schools. That's what I'm amazed by. Okay. Because today when you talk about stop and frisk and you talk about racial profiling, and we just got through having a conversation last week about 12 years a slave, and we know what happened to Solomon. He got taken off the streets of Washington, D.C., tricked into being captured and taken and put into slavery. A freed man, a freed African, okay, even in the nation's capital. And here we have this white Supreme Court judge, Roger Brooke Coney, who literally established the constitutional law for stop and frisk. Wow. See, we have to realize and recognize this history and just how important it is, folks, because this is not an anomaly, as they say. This just didn't happen all of a sudden. This has been ongoing for some 200 plus years. And it's high time that we engage a challenge, not just to the unconstitutional law, but also to the Justice Department, which is supposed to be protecting its citizens. We have amendments, we've got laws written on the books, and now we've got stand your ground laws, which really are basically unconstitutional as well, based on previous laws like this, which the Supreme Court ruled on the Dred Scott case in 1857. Wow. Okay. All right. So listen, there's more. I'm going to give you some more history, but Linda, have you heard about this situation in Cleveland, Ohio? Okay. Cleveland, Ohio, where Walmart, one of the Fortune 500 billionaire companies, $1 billion, the Walmart family, posting signs in their store asking their employees to give food for the needy employees of Walmart stores. Now, is there something wrong with that picture? They're asking their own employees okay, to give food items to their employees because they are needy, impoverished. What about just raising the minimum wage so that they can make a livable wage? Okay, I'm not opposed to us during the Thanksgiving season providing a service. Working in God's garden is about feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, healing the sick, giving shelter to the homeless, and providing hope for the hopeless. But if you're a $1 billion company and you're asking your own employees to put food in a box so that your employees can get food for the Thanksgiving holiday, there's something wrong with that picture. What do you think about that, Linda?
I don't know. That's a big difference.
Yeah. I mean, you work in the business of helping people.
Yeah.
I'm just stunned that that's going on. But I'm not surprised. Walmart is a company that outsources to cheap labor in foreign countries to make these products that they sell. They bring it back to our country and then sell them at a profit in our community, which means that they're doing two things that are really, really wrong. First and foremost, they're ripping off their labor pool because they're paying them slave wages. That's the new slavery, slave wages. Okay. Then you bring that same product that your slave labor made, and then you're going to bring it back to my community and then sell it at a profit, because guess what? Just yesterday, or was it the day before yesterday? Today's Wednesday. Monday, Wall Street closed with a new record on the stock exchange, over 16,000 plus, which means that those same Fortune 500 companies, Walmart included, made more money on Monday than they have made in the entire history of the stock market. And yet they can't find enough to raise the minimum wage. And let's go right back again to the notion that Republicans in their trickle-down theory keep saying that if we give these Fortune 500 tax breaks, that they'll create the jobs. Well, last time I looked, the unemployment rate went up, and in the black community and in our minority communities, the unemployment rate is at an all-time high somewhere between 13 and 17% of the community unemployed. Whew. I don't know about you, but there's something really rotten in the cotton, and there's something wrong with that picture. All right, I want to hear from you. Let's talk. Let's connect the dots. Make sense out of it all. The number to call, 347-884-9839. I know you're out there, you're listening, and you're shaking your head like I am. I'm like, oh my goodness. Here we are. This is Thanksgiving 2013. And guess what? Next week, Black Friday, why they want to call it Black Friday, you're going to be giving away some more of your money. Black community in this country has in spending power over $1 trillion annually. And yes, some of y'all going to be lined up right there at Walmart trying to get that bargain. Buying. You got to stop, folks. There's got to come to a point where we have to say to the Walmarts, enough is enough. Pay your employees. Get them off of the slave wages. You know, we don't need that. We are pushing more and more people into poverty, and it's time to stop that. The capitalistic system survives as a result of having to outsource cheap slave labor. It's still going on in this country. That's why we have the BCS Experience. It's the new Underground Railroad. Okay, some more history. Linda, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. But before we do that, what are you going to do for Thanksgiving, Linda? Do you do something special every year to help feed the hungry, clothe the naked, shelter the homeless, heal the sick, and give hope to the hope? What do you do special for your Thanksgiving harvest time?
During the Thanksgiving time, help with bagging food for the homeless.
Yes.
We really do work with turkey drives to make sure we get turkeys out to the needy and package food for the hungry so that they will have a great Thanksgiving meal.
All right, that's what we're supposed to be doing. This is harvest time, people. And believe it or not, as bad as your situation is, guess what? You're not the poster child for Job. There's somebody out there worse condition than you. I got a friend in Atlanta, Georgia. She and her husband, Afemo Omalami and Elizabeth Omalami, the daughter of the late, great Hosea Williams, one of Martin Luther King's 12 associates, great man himself, started the Feed the Hungry, Hosea Feed the Hungry campaign in Atlanta, Georgia. And do you know, without government subsidy, they've been doing this for the last 25 years. I think it's probably about 27 years. I helped get that program started because I worked with Hosea and Elizabeth and Afemo. Every year, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Martin Luther King birthday, and Easter, they literally feed over 10,000 people at each of those events. And when you talk about the miracle of the loaves and the fishes, you good Christians know exactly what I'm talking about. They feed over 10,000. Next Thursday, they will feed over 10,000 people at the Fulton County Stadium in Atlanta. Or it's either there or over at the World Congress Center in Atlanta, Georgia. But they do that. That's what it is, folks. This is harvest time. You're supposed to share your bounty with those in need. And that's what's wrong with our country right now. Congress is sitting on their thumbs while we are driving more and more people into poverty. This is wrong. And then Wall Street, record-breaking profits this past Monday. Record-breaking profits. We got a problem here, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the history that will connect the dots to let you know this is not an anomaly. This is ongoing, and it gets worse and worse. As they say, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. All right, I got a piece of history here. Let's go. Since we're talking about biblical, let's talk about the spiritual music. Okay. You go to church, Linda?
Yeah.
What church do you go to? What's the name of your church?
I go to Mount Calvary.
Mount Calvary. Is that a Baptist church?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you know the date? It's November the 19th, the year. It's 1800. It's Wednesday. And on this date, we focus on black spiritual music in America. Okay, I got another caller on the line. This is area code 201. Good evening and welcome to the BCS Experience. And who might you be?
Hey, this is Ty. I would just want to say, you know, fantastic show, chock full of information. And I want to say hello to Linda. I wish everyone a happy Harvest Day.
Thank you.
Is there a website or is there a centralized location where you could find out where folks can donate their time and food for the most needy among us?
Sure.
And also,
yes.
Is there a website or some information perhaps you could provide us to direct some of the folks who we know who may be hungry on that day to go and get a nice warm meal?
Ty, we're going to take a break here in about another 15 to 20 seconds. And when we come back from the break, I'm going to give you some information. So don't hang up. Stay on the line because we're going to talk about where you are. And then we're going to give out some information because you're right. We need to let people know where they can share their Thanksgiving by giving to those in need. You're listening to the BCS Experience on the GoPro Radio Network. Don't go away. We will be right back.
GoPro Radio, the fastest growing network in the galaxy, is leaner and meaner with a new attitude, new technology, and a brand new lineup. Tune in and get wired every Wednesday, starting at 5 p.m. Eastern with the BCS Experience featuring Byron C. Saunders, formerly of New York City's WBAI. Then at 6 p.m., it's the Black Agenda TV Express featuring sought-out political commentator Glenn Ford, formerly of America's Black Forum. Then at 8 p.m., it's time for Kay Thompson Live with the legendary radio host Kay Thompson of Inner City Broadcasting's WLIB and her son, renowned actor Eric Payne, who starred in such films as Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, Drop Squad, and many more. Then at 9 p.m., it's Food Rap featuring Nina Markel, a.k.a. the unofficial mayor of Jersey City, and former Viacom marketing guru Shauna Glover. Last but not least, at 10 p.m. Eastern, it's the Sexy Party Show with the bad boy of dating Mr. Locario of I Love New York fame and his partner in crime, Miles Cunningham. So get wired every Wednesday from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern only on the GoPro Radio Network, www.goproradio.com. Listen to the voices in your head.
Okay, we're back on the BCS Experience, listening to the voices in my head. I'm loving it. Oh, listen to that wonderful music. And listen, folks, my show, GoPro Radio Network, the BCS Experience, is listener sponsored. That means your support helps to keep us alive. And what that is that here's how it works. Go to the website, www.goproradio.com, and you'll see the page that opens up. We need your support to stay listener sponsored. That means you are the stakeholder. You determine that we can stay on. You determine that our shows that we have lined up keep being played for you. Show us some love because we're showing you lots of love. So when you go to make that donation, you hit that donation box. And when you're going to determine how much you're going to give, one more thing to do. When you start to hit the pay button, make sure you say, help support the BCS Experience. Help keep my show on the air. Help to keep us keep going. Listen to the voices in your head. And once again, happy holidays. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for your continued support. Okay, we're back. All right, Ty, we lost you. Call back, Ty, because I'm going to give you some information. I don't know where is 201. What is that? Is that in New Jersey? All right. Okay, 201 is in New Jersey. Here's how we're going to do this. Linda goes to Mount Calvary Baptist Church, and she's in Maryland. Ty, you're in New Jersey. You can go online and Google or type in the words Thanksgiving food drive. Okay, I believe if you type that in, it'll start to give you a place where you can, and there should be several places: churches, food programs, harvests that are helping the needy, most of them in a Christian atmosphere. Some of them, like even American Legion, has opportunities. Those, believe me, we got soldiers coming home from Afghanistan. We've got a need to help these people, because when they get back here, folks, did you know that 1 in 4 homeless people on the streets are veterans? Unacceptable. Unacceptable. And we got to help them out. This is the Judeo-Christian way to do this. So ultimately, give. Put some food, a canned food. Put something in the box. Give back. And even if you don't like Walmart and they have a box out there, put something in the box, because it's going to go to somebody who needs it. We'll work on the other back end of that, getting Walmart to raise its minimum wage. But that's how you're going to do it, Ty. And if you can't find a place, trust me, go to Hosea Feeds the Hungry. It's based in Atlanta, Georgia. They'll take your donation, even though you're here in New Jersey and they're in Atlanta. You don't have to wait to go that far. Right in your own backyard, I guarantee there's a church, there's a community center, even the YMCA will take donations, because we are a country that helps support each other in spite of what Congress is not doing. Okay, Linda, I was going to give you some information. Okay, black spiritual music in America. Now, here's why this is important. See, many black spirituals resulted from the white folk music tradition, and many others have melody analogs in white American and British folk music. The borrowing of melodies with pentatonic, that's 5 notes, and major scales is especially well known. You see, the voice quality, vocal effects, and the type of rhythm accompaniment that black spirituals use is where the difference begins and ends. You see, black spirituals were sung not only in worship, but also as work songs, and the lyrics often reflect physical hard work as well as spiritual information. See, musically, the complex combination of African and white music, white folk music, elements reinforced each other. The call and response pattern occurs in both, as do certain scales and the uneven inflections of certain notes. Now, clear African influence can be heard and felt in vocal style and in the obvious, complex, polyrhythmic clapped accompaniments. African tradition also included polyphonic and choral singing. You see, the ring shout, a religious dance usually accompanied by the singing of spirituals and clapped rhythms, comes from African ancestry. The lyrics of Negro spirituals are tightly linked with the lives of their authors, which were the slaves. Now, Linda, you go to Calvary Baptist, and I am sure there you have a praise worship segment to your ceremony on Sunday, correct?
Yes.
Okay. That praise worship section is a reflection going back to our origins of the spiritual, invoking the channel from here to God. And those songs that we sing, now we sing a lot of gospel, but it's during the praise worship time that mostly a spiritual is used to make that connection. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you're a singer too, aren't you?
Yeah,
Now, do you lead your praise worship and song at your church?
not always.
Not always, but sometimes.
Sometimes, but not always.
Okay. So you see, when you go back to your rehearsal, you can say to them, "Do you know the origins?" You see, because sometimes we forget. It's like the origins of watch night service. Now you know what watch night service is, correct?
Waiting for the new year to come in.
All right. Now, do you know why we celebrate watch night service? What its origins? Its origins is in history, and I'm going to share that with you. We celebrate watch night service, which is celebrating what the coming of the new year. We go to church around sometimes 7, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and we're count instead of looking and waiting for the final 60 seconds of the ball to drop on at Times Square. We go to church, and this is a tradition. This is an African American tradition that was born as a result of the proclamation known as the Emancipation Proclamation, because it was at that time the slaves got together in a spiritual joining, waiting for the January 1st, 1201, when the Emancipation Proclamation would become law. Freedom. That's why we celebrate watch night service. It's based in that tradition. How about that? Okay. See, we do have a connection. It just doesn't happen. I mean, sometimes the churches do give you that information, but quite often the celebration is lost in the history. But its origins, watch night service origins, is the day when the Emancipation Proclamation became law. That's why we celebrate watch night service. Wow. Amazing. Okay, let's connect the dots, folks. You got about a few more minutes. I got some more history to share with you. I want to hear from you. Call me, 347-884-9839. That's right, pick up the phone. Call me, 347-884-9839. Here's some more history, Linda. I got one for you. Okay, the date. We're going to move ahead in time. It's November the 15th. It's a Tuesday. The year is 1825. And on this date in 1825, Sarah Jane Early was born. She was a black teacher, an abolitionist, and a feminist. Sarah Jane Woodson Early was born in Chillicothe, Ohio, the daughter of Thomas and Jemima Woodson. Much of her feminist and black community involvement took place through the African Methodist Church, also known as AME, and a number of black educational institutions. You see, in 1856, she earned an LB degree from Oberlin College, becoming one of the first black women to receive a college degree. From 1859 to 1860, while working at Wilberforce University, Early became the first black woman college faculty member. She taught in a number of Ohio's black community schools, and from 1860 to 1861 was a principal of the schools in Xenia, Ohio. You see, in 1868, Early went to teach at a school for black girls in Hillsborough, North Carolina, run by the Freedmen's Bureau. That same year, she married Reverend Jordan W. Early, a pioneer in the AME church movement. She assisted in his ministry while teaching throughout the South, and in 1894, she chronicled her husband's work in the book, The Life and Labors of Reverend J. W. Early, preaching and practicing her belief in the role of black women in racial uplift. Early was appointed superintendent of the colored division of the Women's Christian Temperance Union in 1888. Sarah Early died in August 1907. Amazing story, huh? I'm telling you.
Amazing story.
See, we got all this history, folks, and this is the stuff that needs to be in our schools. They're not teaching us. You should have heard about this woman. This woman was an amazing pioneer. Not just yesterday, way before Rosa Parks, way before Harriet Tubman. Okay? All right? It's a woman that and she's a shero. One of our sheroes. Got to tell you, we got to learn more about this, folks. That, hey, listen, the truth will set us free.
So what's her first again?
Her name, Sarah Jane Early, born in 1825. Early, Sarah Jane Early. Okay. All right, here's another one. I got more stories for you, more history. Okay.
November 1825.
Yes, November 15th, 1825.
Okay.
All right. Okay. The date, it's Wednesday. It's November the 15th, 1865. So we go 40 years into the future. Zion Baptist Church was founded on this date in 1865. It is one of the oldest African American churches west of the Mississippi. Okay? Was founded by a small group of people that came from other territories and towns to Colorado with limited resources. Filled with determination, Reverend William Norrid was Zion's first pastor, and in 1867, Zion purchased 2 lots located at 20th and Holloway, now Arapahoe Streets, and built their first house of worship. Wow. Okay, when they went west, this is what they were doing. All right, I got to take a break here. When we come back, I got some more history for you, some amazing history. You're not going to even believe this history I'm coming up with after the break. So don't go away. This is the BCS Experience on the GoPro Radio Networks, coming live and in living color from the studios of the BW Moving Images. We'll be right back.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a great opportunity. If you have a product or service, a talent or something important to say, now's your chance to have your own radio show. Whether you're just starting out or a veteran looking for a professional platform to enhance your presentation, the GoPro Radio Network is the premier place to cultivate and share new and exciting content. We'll help you to grow your audience and keep it growing long after your first broadcast. Now you have a voice. Call 212-696-8562 today or visit www.goproradio.com and you'll be amazed at how easy and affordable it is to have your own radio show on the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio. Listen to the voices in your head.
All right, we're back. The BCS Experience. We're live and in living color. Oh, my goodness. All right, if you want to call and talk to me and tell me how you like or dislike this history, my goodness, I know you don't know this stuff. The number here is 347-884-9839. Once again, our number to call in, 347-884-9839. Call me. Talk to me. All right? We got Linda on the line. She's down there in Maryland. Linda, I got one for you. This history will blow your mind. The date, it's Tuesday. It's November the 19th, the year 1867. And on this date in 1867, emancipated blacks began influencing South Carolina politics when citizens of the state endorsed their constitutional convention and selected state delegates. Now check this out. Records show that 66,418 blacks and 2,315 whites voted for the convention, and 2,278 whites voted against holding a convention, for a total vote cast of 71,046. Now, check this out. Not a single black voted against the convention. And because blacks in South Carolina vastly outnumbered whites, over time, the newly enfranchised voters were able to send to so many African American representatives to the state assembly that they outnumbered the whites. We're talking about South Carolina, folks. The same state that's flying that awful Southern Confederacy flag at its state capital. See, many were able legislatures who worked to rewrite the state constitution and pass laws ensuring aid to public education, universal male franchise, and civil rights for all. So you may be asking the question, what happened? What happened? What happened to South Carolina? Because today, none of this seems like it's there. So you know what happened? Reconstruction.
What happened?
Reconstruction. After Lincoln was assassinated, Andrew Johnson almost literally turned the South back to where it was before the Civil War. And here's the sad part about all of that, because you know how many people lost their lives in the Civil War? Linda, do you know how many people? Do you know how many people lost their lives how many young men lost their lives in the Civil War?
No.
When I tell you this number, it's going to blow your mind, because we're celebrating the Gettysburg Address this coming week. We lost over 700,000 young men. 700,000. That's right. In the Civil War.
They were all black?
White and black.
Oh, okay.
White and black. 700,000. And we still are fighting the Civil War. That's sad. See, the mistake was, and which is why Grant, Ulysses S. Grant, is a major hero in this country. He was the one who kept the Union together after Lincoln and after Andrew Johnson, because Andrew Johnson was Lincoln's vice president, and he was a Southern cracker who tried to return the South back to its glory days. But it was Ulysses S. Grant who kept this Union together. And in fact, when you come to New York City, and you may have heard of Grant's tomb, because it's always the joke, well, who's buried in Grant's tomb? Well, it's the largest mausoleum in this country dedicated to a fallen president. When they buried him at the mausoleum, they had put his casket on a train and rode it across the country to New York City. And when they buried him in the mausoleum, which is where Grant's tomb is today, over on Riverside Drive in New York City, over 100,000 people came to his funeral.
Wow.
I know. It's a wow moment, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I'm talking about, folks. Wow, indeed. Oh, I got 5 more minutes. All right, I got some more history for you. I got to give you this. The date. It's November the 17th. The year is 1887. And on this date, 1887 celebrates Mound Bayou, Mississippi, one of the first incorporated black towns in the United States. That's right. The town. Yeah, Mound Bayou, Mississippi. I've been there. It's in the black clay. It's in the black dirt area of Mississippi. Okay, we got Georgia red clay. This is down there in the Delta, as they say. This
Delta area.
That's right, the Delta area. This town is of national historical significance because it is representative of the many towns established by blacks who migrated from the South to northern and western communities after slavery. It's located in Bolivar County in the Mississippi Delta. It was established by two former slaves, Isaiah T. Montgomery and his cousin Benjamin Green. They created a refuge for blacks from the many white-controlled cotton plantations at a time known for deadly racial violence. That's right. It still exists today. Mound Bayou. That's what it's called. It's a remarkable place. And do you know that at one point they had, in 1900, 287 people were with over 1,500 black farmers lived in the vicinity. Booker T. Washington took part in some of its economic development. Nearly everyone in and around Mound Bayou could read. Did you hear what I just said? Nearly everyone in and around Mound Bayou could read, a remarkable status for anyone in Mississippi in the late 19th century. Around 1900, wow. President Theodore Roosevelt called Mound Bayou the jewel of the Delta. Wow.
Wow.
Okay, see? That's what I'm talking about, the stories, the history. Listen, I got 1 minute to the end. I got to close this up. Linda, I want to thank you again for tuning in. And I got to give a shout out to my sister.
Thank you for a wonderful history session.
You're very welcome. It's always a pleasure to have you on the line, you know. And I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving, you and your family. And I also want to wish my sister. Well, thank you, darling. I also want to give a shout out to my sister, Leslie Meacham Saunders, who tomorrow will be celebrating her 62nd birthday. And she, in her own right, is an amazing woman. Back in 2005, she was one of 2,000 women from around the world nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. My sister, Leslie Meacham Saunders. I love you. Anyway, folks, this has been the BCS Experience. I want you to tune in. We're on the GoPro Radio Network, and this, you know something? It's Your Social Network's live talk radio show, produced and sponsored by BW Moving Images. Tylon U. Xavier, Washington producer. Ayana L. Jones, executive director. Shauna L. Glover, online engineer. And Tatiana Washington and Tayana Washington, all of them. And Mohammed El Safti, all of my engineers are working hard today. I want to thank you all for being a part of the BCS Experience. And a very special thank you to the Jazz Lounge Project and Andrew Julian Myers for my fabulous show's theme music. You see, your support of BW Moving Images is truly important to us. And there is a wonderful documentary that I encourage you to get that my producer, Tylon U. Xavier Washington, made and is available for purchase. It's entitled Disappearing Voices, The Decline of Black Radio. Now, you can get your purchase by going to www.disappearingvoices.com. And you know something? Instead of going to Walmart and Sears and JCPenney and Target and Macy's, you know what? For next Friday, Black Friday, buy yourself some history. Get your copy of Disappearing Voices, The Decline of Black Radio. It's a gift that will keep giving over and over and over. You need this in your collection? You know what? Buy something important. Buy some black history. Anyway, tune in next Wednesday when my show, the BCS Experience, History, Arts, Culture, Politics, and Review and Discussion will be on from 5 to 6 p.m. Coming up next is Black Agenda TV Express from 6 to 6:30, featuring Glenn Ford, Ayanna Jones, and Bruce Dixon. And that will be followed by my good friend Kate Thompson Live with your hostess Kate Thompson. And from 8 to 9 p.m., then stay tuned. Guaranteed, stay tuned in for 9 to 10 when you're hot off the stove show, my good friends, Food Rap, with Shauna L. Glover and Nina Marcal. And then don't go to sleep, because you're going to want to stay tuned to the Sexy Party Show. Hey, folks, it's been the BCS Experience. It's been all about you. I'll see you next week. Happy Thanksgiving. Until then, peace and love. Always.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
All right. Good show, peoples.